But a lot of people say attention is the new currency. So what role does clout chasing and likes on social media play into violence?
I like that statement or strapline, but I've always said that attention has always been the currency. It's what's rooted in the human experience. It's kind of one of our basic needs. We want to be seen, we want to be heard. I think the context in the way in which people want to be seen and heard in today's society is very different. And we look at social media, and this is very much what my PhD study is ultimately all about. It looks at the correlation between social media, music, violence within the context of the West Midlands. And one of the things that I talk about within my work, and I've also done a paper on this, looks at how social media platforms create narcissistic tendencies. And I also say we shouldn't always just point the finger at young people. We also should talk about multinational corporations and marketing and big business that comes into this idea that they want people on these platforms talking about themselves. You think of Snapchat, you talk about Instagram, you look at TikTok and all of these things. What is it about? Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Attention. So whilst people are on those particular platforms, what sometimes happens is individuals sometimes forget and they get lost in the source. So when you say attention is the new currency, the currency is to be seen. The currency is to be acknowledged. The currency is to be liked more than everybody else. And on a social media platform, if you're liked the most, what do you then have the opportunity to get? Blue tick. So you get yourself a blue tick now on something like Instagram. It suggests that you're popular. It suggests that you're somebody of significance. So you have those things going on a social media platform. And then you've got people that essentially are looking, thinking, well, I want to be like that. So then when you talk about clout, people are now just doing anything now on social media platforms just to get a hit, just to get a like, just to get some sort of, viral moment. And I guess whilst people are essentially doing that, they're losing themselves within that. And I said this earlier on about the people, unfortunately, that are on social media platforms, and it's damaging, whether it's young men, pushing forth very hyper masculine, misogynistic ways in which they should demonstrate their manhood, versus young women that are talking about so-called empowerment, but then sleeping with hundreds and hundreds of men.
So how can we redirect that hunger for attention towards something more positive?
It's multi-layered. One of the things I talk about within my work a lot also is you have to discover your lane. I don't want to talk and suggest that there is a solution to the problem, because also the question sometimes alludes to the fact that you doing one thing is going to solve the problem. There's multi things that people can do. So one of the things that we do in our organization is about education, building resilience, helping people discover themselves and their identity, with the hope that when they are interacting with these mediums through a mediatized space, that they're making the right decisions. And as I said earlier on, that there is a lot of positive that can come out of social media platforms. There are so many benefits that people can grasp and get from that. We've been talking about mentorship today. We've been talking about podcasting. We've been talking about interviews. We've been talking about the right information as opposed to misinformation. So there's loads that social media and media generally can contribute to the upliftment of individuals and people. It's about when people utilize it incorrectly and improper in the way in which causes the tensions. And my worry is for those individuals that are, trying to discover themselves, or they're, lacking self-esteem, or they don't know who they are, or they don't know their purpose, and they may come into contact with individuals or groups that utilize social media for a negative purpose and somehow coerce and manipulate, or even using the word brainwashing them into things that potentially they go into that may have an adverse impact on them or their families. So education is my lane. I think that there needs to be more education around knowledge of self. I think there needs to be more education about identity. I think there needs to be more education about, who people are. Self-exploration for me is really important. And I just don't think that we do enough of that type of stuff. So education for me is important. But I think also individuals that are in the realm of, mental health and supporting people, around their well-being. I think there's loads of work around where the arts can do really well. You know, people that are into drama, the people that are using, you know, art generally as forms of therapy and helping people to, you know, articulate the ways in which they think and they feel. You know, sport is also an amazing tool. You know, individuals that are in the health industry, in the fitness industry. There's so many ways in which you can help and support. I think my lane for me is education, and how can we utilize education as a means to engage young people.